Sometimes I can word, sometimes I can't word. Sometimes I can people, and sometimes I can't people. Hey y'all, it's Ashley. Welcome back to my channel. I just needed a chill, relaxed mood, so this is what's gonna happen. I'm gonna sit here with my favorite pillow, and I'm gonna talk about books. I feel like I did pretty well considering everything that's been going on the past couple of months. For March, I read a total of 6 books. One of those were a graphic novel and the other one was audiobook. And I also had, in that 6, I had 2 of my very first arcs that I read and reviewed from NetGalley. So I know 6 doesn't seem like a bunch, but to me, considering that I stay pretty busy with a toddler running around, getting past even 3 books is a success for me. So let's go ahead and jump into this video, otherwise we will be here for the next couple hours listening to Ashley's problems. Thank you. We're gonna start with Serpent and Dove by Shelby Mahurin. I gave that a 5 out of 5 stars. It is a YA fantasy and it is about a witch who forsakes all of her magic and goes to move in the city and lives as a thief and a pickpocket. Unfortunately, this city is known for burning witches at the stake, and if she were ever to be found out, she would be going to the stakes immediately. But what happens is she is forced to marry a witch hunter who doesn't know that she's a witch. The second book I read was The Shadows Between Us by Trisha Levenseller. I was really disappointed in this book. I'm a Slytherin, if you didn't know. This was supposed to be like a Slytherin romance. It's also a YA fantasy book. I really liked the gist of it. We have a person who she wants to be noticed and she wants to take all of the king's power and hoard it for herself. So she devises this plot to go and kill him, but she has to do it in a very cunning way. See, there's your Slytherin, because she's not just gonna go up and like stab him. Like, that's not gonna happen. I think I just put my hopes up way too high for this. I did give it a 3 out of 5 stars, and I think that other people definitely should give it a try, especially if you're Slytherin. Go House Slytherin, okay? Okay. The graphic novel that I read is The Wicked and the Divine, and it was the Faust Act. I loved it. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars, and I will be continuing the series. This graphic novel is so gorgeous. I highly recommend it. It is about these gods that are only allowed to come back and live as mortals for 2 years, I believe. And they can do this every 90 years. So every 90 years comes along, they pop back into these teenage bodies almost. And they are pop stars, or, you know, they have all of this stuff that they're trying to gain fame and fortune and do it as quickly as possible before their time is up. The next book that I finished for March is Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick, and I listened to this on audiobook. I hated this. I mean, not like a 1-star hate, but it was definitely a 2-star hate. But I'll tell you why. It's like Twilight, but bad Twilight. Like bad Twilight. How do I even describe it? Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick is a YA fantasy, and it is about a girl who tries not to fall for the bad guy, but she ends up falling for the bad guy, I think. I don't know how to describe this book. I'm sorry. But Hush Hush just wasn't. I gave it a 2 out of 5 stars. I tried. I really did try, but I couldn't stand it. The next 2 books I'm going to be talking about, I did receive from NetGalley. I review on NetGalley as well as on my channel here and on my Goodreads. These are all my opinions about these books, and let me just tell you, I could not have picked any better for my first arcs. Like, I don't know how this happened, but it happened, and it's amazing. So let me go ahead and just talk about it. The first one that I read is They Did Bad Things by Lauren A. Forey. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. No, I gave it a 4 out of 5. Yeah, I gave it a 4 out of 5 stars. This is about these group of people who are all invited to this bed and breakfast. They've never heard of this bed and breakfast before, and it kind of takes from Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None, and then adds it more oomph to it. Trigger warnings for this book: there are graphic scenes of gore, and I wouldn't say like rape culture, but there's like hints of it. Yeah. So, but it was such a good book. I did give it a 4 out of 5 stars, and I loved Agatha Christie's And Then There Were None. And so reading this really just, it made my month. The next book that I read, if you follow me on Twitter, you will already know how hyped up I am about this book and how much I love it. I read Gilded Ones by Namina Forna. I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. If you couldn't already tell, I gave it a 5 out of 5 stars. This book blew me away. It's about a young woman who is nervous about this blood ritual that she has to go through, that everybody has to go through at a certain age. And if she could just bleed red so she could live out her life as normal and not as the weird outcast that she is, then that would pretty much be her life. But unfortunately, she bleeds gold, and gold is the cursed blood of demons. So she gets sent off to this camp for demons almost, and they have these heightened abilities where they're harder to kill. So she's gone through a bunch of stuff. It's such a good book. I mean, there's diversity, and you've got just kind of like a different, like its own mythology, because you learn a lot about its religion. And anyways, let's not get into that. 5 out of 5 stars. So that was it for my March wrap up. Now, I like to do TBRs, but it's really just an extra option for me. I am very much so a mood reader, so whenever it is time to come up with my TBRs, I actually make a list. But this is a tentative TBR, because there will be some times where I've picked 5 books to choose from to read for the month, and I don't like any of them, or I don't want to read any of them. So the first book that I want to read is actually a book of poems, and it is Charles Wright's Caribou. And this is really neat. I'm, if you can't tell, from the South, and I was born and raised in the country. This has a bunch of poems about nature in itself and how mysterious and magical it is. And I actually got this from the dollar store for $1, and it is a steal. Like, look at it. It's just amazing. I got mud on it earlier. Don't tell anybody. The next book that I'm going to read is The Plus One by Sarah Archer. This is about a woman whose younger sister is getting married. The younger sister has told our main character that she needs to bring a date to the wedding. She unfortunately cannot find a date, but she is a robotics engineer, and she creates herself a date. Unfortunately, she ends up falling for him. I thought this was really cute. It's a romance, which is out of my comfort zone. The next book I'm going to try and read for April is A Stranger in the House, and this is by Sherry Lapina. This one, I think, is about 300 pages, so it's a thriller, and it seems like it might be pretty quick. I've been meaning to get to this. I got this from my friend's library sale. I got it for like $2 when normally it's like 12 or 13. I like a good bargain, okay? Leave me alone. You're home making dinner for your husband. You expect him any second. The phone rings. It's the call you hoped you'd never get. You jump in your car and race to a neighborhood you thought you'd never visit. You peer into the dark, deserted building and brace yourself for the worst. After that, you remember nothing. They tell your husband you've been in an accident. You lost control of your car as you sped through the roughest part of town. The police suspect you are up to no good, but your husband refuses to believe it. He thinks he knows you better than anyone else. Your best friend is not so sure. And even you don't know what to believe. Need I say more? I also plan on buddy reading with Emily Rose. We're going to read Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. And I'm also going to be trying to get to another graphic novel called Snow Glass Apple by Neil Gaiman. I have actually kind of dabbled into that, which, I mean, it's April, right? So it's fine. And I'm really enjoying it, and I really like the art style, so I will let you guys know what I think about it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please make sure to subscribe because you don't want to miss out on my wacky content because you know I'm wacky. Make sure also to give me a like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time. See y'all later. Bye.